back to our NGG Week 3 recap. Ticket to Ride defeats Rudy Was Offsides in their first official meeting. Brownout demolishes the implications, as is tradition. Win Like Flynn get on the right track against the Escobar's Hippos. Luck Cardinals win the North-South rivalry against the Inaugurals. The Seawards upset the Liquidators just to create even more chaos within this wacky division. Justin's Deli pick up the win over the Kung Fu Pandas to spice it up in their own division as well. Now that the divisional games are over, we're going to really start to see the strengths of some of these rosters. We'll see how folks plan to approach dealing with, various injuries and bye weeks. Losing Najee Harris and James Conner both was very rough. Our list of RB allies grows thin. Both teams have issued some IR refunds for those players. If you choose to cut them entirely, you will lose the IR refund, but could potentially gain more cap space back. Calculators on the website for more details, or you could ping blind or eye. We did have a couple of trades go down, both from the implications as they continue to stockpile draft picks for the offseason. They sold Rodgers and a projected second for middling second and some fourth rounders. They also traded away Harold Fannin Jr. for a future second and a fourth round pick back this year. Rodgers filled a need for the Liquidators, and Unicorn, bought into the hype of Fannin Jr. at a pretty reasonable price point. I think that's a pretty standard price for Fannin right now across Dynasty. As we look at the Real Minigenius division, this is truly shaping up to be anyone's game so far. The Luck Cardinals take number one after a 2-0 performance, despite having one less .4 than both the Inaugurals and the Seawards, third and fourth place, by the way. The Liquidators slot in at second, at 4-2, and the Inaugurals and Seawards are tied at 3-3 apiece. Every single team in this division has more points for than all other teams in the league, not including Brownout. But remember, they're dying a slow death. Speaking of Brownout, they are comfortably on top of the Microaggressors division as our only undefeated team so far in the league. They show no signs of slowing down either. The Ticket to Ride come in second at 3-3 after splitting their matchup against the Median this week. Rudy Was Offsides, dropped 2 more games to move down to 1-5, and the implications are still searching for their first win of the season at 0-6. The Joe Millionaires division was dominated by the Kung Fu Pandas, but Justin's Deli surprisingly pulled off the upset, even after CeeDee Lamb pulled off that goose egg. The Pandas are still on top at 5-1 with a solid 444 points for, but the Deli are right on their heels at 4-2 and with a 429 points for. Win Like Flynn showed some signs of life this week, but they remain in third place at 2-4. And the only other winless team in the league, Escobar's Hippos, continue to search at 0-6. Now, normally we cut the video right here, but we're going to get on with the power rankings that we're going to start doing at the end of every week from here on out. So it's disrespectful to start, talking about anybody other than Brownout right now. They're 6-0, steamroller division. They have the most points for in the league. Their QB rotation of Mahomes, Goff, and Knicks can get it done. Combine that with consistent wide receiver production, and they have very high ceilings with their running backs, Jonathan Taylor. They also have the Devon A-Chain and Bucky Irving PPR scams. They have to have the most deadly starting rotation in the league. Can't really see anybody else knocking them off from number one for at least, the next several weeks, but we'll find out. Number two in the power ranking has to be the Kung Fu Pandas. They're always dominant during the regular season. That's held true over the course of several years. They don't have the best points for across the league, but they're respectable. And this team has heavy hitters in JSN, Jacobs, and Allen. There's no worry at the QB room just yet. They definitely don't need to concern themselves with bench depth either, because they have plenty of young prospects as well as guys that can plug and play in spot starts. Number three is the Luck Cardinals. Shout out to them for finally finding some running backs. It's been a wild ride. They've had injuries, but Puka Nacua is an absolute fantasy stud. And as long as JD 5 is okay, this team will be all right. Tucker Kraft's already one of the best tight ends in football. Addison coming back from suspension will help too. Number four, we have the Liquidators. Drake May's looking like the real deal. CMC is back doing his PPR thing. This team has high highs without the low lows. Losing Burrow for an extended time hurts, but they got Rodgers, and that makes sense to fill the void. They don't have as much depth as people might think, but their starting unit is just so strong it's hard to knock them, especially with the amount of draft capital they have. They can just buy anything they need. Number five is our defending champ, the Inaugurals. They had a down week this past week, but they still boast a star-studded lineup with Gibbs, Chase, Jefferson, and Adams. You can never really count them out. Jacoby Myers and Pearsall have been getting it done too. Depth's not really a concern, but their QBs could leave something to be desired. T-Law and Murray aren't exactly consistent or good high ceiling guys, but their team's absolutely stronger than the record indicates. Though they just have the highest points against the entire league after going through that ringer that is their division. Number 6 is the Justin's Deli, second place in the Joe Millionaires division at 4-2. They have the stars and stud mentality that's carried them through the first few years. And that strategy continues to work this year. The Deli don't really have any depth, but they also don't care. It was good to see signs of life from Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. The question will be, do they have the durability to withstand the long season? But for now, they're our 6th best team. Ticket to Ride, our next team in the power ranking. It's hard placing them any lower with their 2 elite producing QBs. The bigger issue is consistency outside of that position because it's very volatile right now, as we've seen. When it rains, it pours for the squad, whether it's win or lose. Almost lost week 1 of the implications, got blown out in week 2. Had several lineup duds in week 3, but still got it done. Trey Tucker and Luther Burden had big games this week, but it's obvious that this team is really suffering without Joe Mixon this year. The Seawards are a team with upward trajectory, long term, but they're buried right now within the RMG division. That's just tough enough. Running back's not an issue with the roster, but their QBs are hit or miss. And they're seemingly on the ticking time bomb with Russ and Flacco. They put up plenty of points in their own division, but we'll have to see how the roster plays out the rest of the year. Win Like Flynn is number 9. They could deserve to be higher, but this team is just very thin at RB now after losing Connor. And Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas haven't really carried them this year like they did last year. This team looks like it could be great, but some of their rookies need to shake this sophomore slump they're in, or else it's going to be a long season, and it's pretty much the Lamar Jackson show. Number 10, 11, and 12 can be your pick between Rudy, Escobar, Hippos, and implications. Obviously, Rudy clearly has an advantage over there, too, as they actually have players that can put up points, but they still only have 1 QB in Tua, and, does that really count? The Hippos implications have battles every week to see who can break triple digits in scoring, so that's what else we're really going to talk about here. I'm positive that'll improve as the season progresses, and they definitely have plenty of things to look forward to in the offseason, but for right now, is it any wonder why Blind's not doing the recaps? So anyway, stay tuned for week 5. It's going to be a good one.